Well, it's called The Persian Gamble. Joel Rosenberg is his latest thriller. It's a novel full of plot twists and paced action. He identifies a new axis of evil. Let's take a look.
The Persian Gamble is the next international thriller from Joel C. Rosenberg. You'll be thrust inside a terrifying nuclear gamble between Russia, Iran, and North Korea, where the fate of the free world hangs in the balance. Joel C. Rosenberg's fact-based fiction is timely and chilling. Don't miss the page-turning action of The Persian Gamble, where America as we know her could be changed forever. The Persian Gamble.
Well, he's with us. You know, Joel, I have got on my iPad 430 books of fiction that I have read. I've read Clancy, I've read David Baldacci, I've read Ludlum. It looks like your style is taking on some of the aspects of Ludlum. Has he been a hero of yours at any time?
Absolutely. The Bourne Identity series, I loved it. I was surprised that it took so long, almost 30 years, for Bourne Identity to go from the New York Times bestseller list to the silver screen. Yeah. Sadly, Ludlum died while they were making the movie, so I'm not holding my breath to make these into movies, but I love Ludlum's style.
Well, it feels like that when I'm reading it. You have more plots in here. You've got a Russian president being assassinated by his son-in-law. You've got a defector coming out of North Korea. You've got a SEAL team going in to get him out. You've got
to keep you on your toes, Pat.
I'm telling you, this is a page turner. It's an exciting book, and I have read it all the way through, cover to cover.
Well, bless you. I appreciate it.
Well, tell me, you have something in there that I think is very profound. The Ayatollah, the old man, he's dying in your book, and he knows the Mahdi is coming. Talk about it. Do they really believe in that guy, don't they?
Yeah. The actual real Ayatollah Khamenei absolutely believes that the end of days has come, that his job is to accelerate or hasten the coming of their so-called Messiah, known as the Mahdi. Sometimes they call him the hidden Imam or the promised Imam or the 12th Imam. They've got lots of names for him. But they believe that he will come and he will conquer the entire world, and he will force all of us to convert to Islam or be sacrificed by Jesus. And then they believe that that's the ultimate caliphate. The way to hasten the coming of this Islamic so-called Messiah, Khamenei believes, is to build nuclear weapons and the missiles to deliver them, because the 12th Imam enters a world of chaos and carnage. And while the world has been bad, it's not bad enough for Khamenei. So one of the things I do in these thrillers, like The Persian Gamble, is I say, what do these people actually believe? And then I run a war game. I extrapolate out, if this is what they believe, let's imagine they start getting to where they want to be. And that's what makes a chilling political thriller, because there's an element of reality, even though we're not there yet, thank God.
Well, they really, if they get the bomb, they will destroy Israel. They will bomb because you had missiles that were capable of hitting the capitals of the West. And so they want to go after New York and Chicago and Washington and all these cities.
They absolutely do. And so last week I was in Washington, and I had lunch with Vice President Mike Pence, a longtime friend, and happens to be a reader and a fan of the novel, so I always love to see him. And we had a long conversation over lunch regarding the Middle East Peace Initiative that the president is developing. And as you know, I met with the leaders of Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Egypt, and Jordan over the last 18 months with several evangelical delegations that I led. But we also talked about Iran and North Korea as a threat. And at the end of the lunch, the vice president said, "Joel, have you ever met the president?" And I said, "No, I actually have never met President Trump. I've never even set foot in the Oval Office." He said, "Follow me." The next thing we know, we're entering the Oval Office, again, for me for the first time. It happens to be the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, is there, who's a friend, and also, by the way, a reader of the novels, hint, hint. But John Bolton, another friend, National Security Advisor there. What was interesting was I meet the president, and he says, "Come, sit down. Let's talk." Now, you know, it was really supposed to be a handshake, but this turned into a meeting. And he said, "So tell me about your new novel." Yeah. And I said, "Well, let me give you the elevator pitch, Mr. President. What if the Iranian regime took the $150 billion that President Obama gave them for the insane Iran nuclear deal, which, thank God, Mr. President, you scrapped. I thank you for that. But what if they took the $150 billion and went secretly to Iran and tried to buy fully operational nuclear warheads?" This is the premise of the novel. And the president said, "Well, how do you know they're not doing that already?" And we all laughed. But then I said, "Well, Mr. President, I'm trusting you and the men in this room to make sure my novel never comes true." I mean, again, for your viewers, remember, the president was just in Hanoi trying to persuade the North Korean dictator to denuclearize, get rid of everything in order to enter the world economy. Why is this important? It's important because the thriller version of this, the worst case scenario, is that North Korea, desperate for cash, but with up to 60 warheads already, could end up deciding to sell these nuclear warheads to Iran or to terrorist groups. This is a terrifying premise, but as you can hear, it's really not that far-fetched.
Well, and they were giving it to Russia because the Russian president got murdered, and he was the one who was going to sell Russian nukes to the Koreans.
Well, that's right. So the novelized version, from the Kremlin conspiracy last year to the Persian Gamble, the two books go together. You're right. The Russian, look, in real life, Pat, you know, Vladimir Putin is a totally different person than the dear leader of North Korea or the Ayatollah. These people have different political philosophies. They have different religious theologies, but they have come together, Russia, North Korea, Iran, in the new axis of evil. And the danger is what the Russian political cover that they're giving North Korea and Iran, and North Korea building missiles that now can reach the west coast of the United States, Iran wanting to wipe us out, but not yet having ICBMs and not yet having the weapons of mass destruction themselves. This is a group that could actually form an alliance, and I believe is forming an alliance in order to confront us. I'm not sure that Putin is ready to wipe us off the planet, but I think Iran and North Korea are. And that's what makes it so terrifying, and that's why I want to write this thriller.
Well, these Iranians are fanatics, and they really believe that they'll usher in the second imam and this golden age of whatever, the caliphate, if they can get this done.
That's right.
So, I mean...
Right, and I believe that Putin thinks he can manage this process.
Yeah.
I think that he can't. I think what's going to happen is Iran, less so North Korea, but mostly Iran, is going to pull Russia and North Korea in a direction that they may not realize they're going. Now, I'm not ready to say yet that that's consistent with biblical prophecy, but we know that there are prophecies of Ezekiel 38, 39, where Persia essentially has hooks in the jaw of Russia and pulls them into a conflict with Israel. Are we there yet? No, we're not there yet. Are the trend lines moving in that direction? They certainly feel that way.
Well, it's a frightening prospect. You know, Putin is enjoying a lot of money. His buddies are enormously rich, and he doesn't want to give that up. He doesn't want to destroy Russia. He doesn't want to have a nuclear war with America. But
he wants to be the wealthiest, most powerful man on the planet.
Probably is richer than anybody right now.
I would say so. I don't know how he does it on $175,000 a year. So
I think he gets a piece of every deal that's done over there.
Now, at the core of this novel also is the hero is Marcus Ryker.
Yeah.
Ryker was a Marine who was decorated in combat in Afghanistan and Iraq. He goes on to work for the United States Secret Service, works his way up to be on the elite presidential protective detail. But through some tragedies in his own life, has to step off the Secret Service job, and yet he gets drawn into being essentially at the wrong place at the right time.
It's like Bourne. I mean, the government is going after him for, you know, there's an section on him.
Yes, it gets very complicated, Marcus Ryker's life in the Kremlin conspiracy, and the Persian Gamble. By the way, back to the West Wing last week. So I said to the president, he wanted to take a picture at the end of our meeting, and I was happy about that. I said, Mr. President, my previous book was called The Kremlin Conspiracy. Now, I said, this has nothing to do with the allegations against you. Yeah. But I said, I brought you a copy. What I would recommend is that you take The Kremlin Conspiracy, walk out onto the South Lawn, hold it up to the press corps and say, the Kremlin Conspiracy, it's fiction, people, it's fiction. Get in Marine One, fly off, the press and the left will go crazy. I got a good laugh out of them.
Well, Joel, I hope this book, is it?
It releases today.
Today's the
hardcover, audio,
I'm honored that you would be here to
I'm honored
inaugurate.
Well.
It's a great book. Folks, it's a terrific read. As I say, I have read, you name it, I have read every fiction writer you can think of, and this is right up to the top. You are really, you've hit your stride on this one. It's fun.
I appreciate it, Pat.
You're having a good time.
I'm having a great time, and God's opening up some interesting doors to meet with the leaders of these Arab countries, as well as Israel and the United States. Right. And Iran's threat is changing the Middle East in a fundamental way.
Without question. You know, the whole thing that concerns me, if we pull out of Syria and that area, there's no counterbalancing force. And I think the Turks, you talk about Ezekiel 38, Turkey's clearly involved in that very heavily. But you know, the Iranians would want to come in. They've got control of Iraq already, and they would want to take that whole area and run that caliphate. So thank you for your warning. Folks, this book is available wherever books are sold. It's called The Persian Gamble. It's a thriller. If you want a really fun book to read, this is the one. Joel, thank you so much. God bless you, man.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
Well, appreciate it.